but let's be realistic. There are a lot of other people that could talk about winning. But welcome, best ever. I'm Scott Lewis. I'm the CEO of Spartan Investment Group. Hopefully over the last 2 days, you've heard from amazing speakers, had some great content, and are taking away all kinds of stuff to implement in your businesses. Well, over the next, 18 to 20 minutes or so, we're going to talk about what it takes to win in everything that you do. To get us started, I want to set the stage with a video by John Taffer, who's the host of Bar Rescue. He's a best-selling author, and he's also the CEO of Taffer Group.
Let me introduce you to the concept of success. Ben Franklin was a pretty smart guy, and I want to start with a quote by him. If you do tomorrow what you did today, you will get tomorrow what you got today. You want to know what that means? The average American makes between 3 and 5% more each year. That's the deal. And in today's economy, I'm not sure we're going to make the 3 to 4 to 5% next year as employees. So it takes you 20 years to double your income in America as an average person. That's the mediocrity that we're stuck in life. And then you meet people who have the uncanny ability to double their income in a year, to get promoted 5 times in a year. The ones that beat the system, the ones that conquer it. You've all seen them, haven't you? The difference between them and the ones that don't do that is that they wake up in the morning and they think differently. They understand that if I do tomorrow what I did today, I'm going to get tomorrow what I got today. You want a bigger car? How about a nice house in Tahiti? Sure, would you love a nice house in the hills? We all want better things, don't we? We all want more friends, more stuff, more money, more security, more travel, more enjoyment. If you do the same thing tomorrow that you did today, you're stuck. Stuck. And it doesn't change. And it grows a little at a time. And you get a taste of success, but it's never fast enough. It never excites you. And when it does, it's a good month, or a good 2 months, or a good 3 months, but it doesn't provide a trajectory that creates success. So the first thing I want you to think about today is I want you to wake up tomorrow and do something different. And understand if you do the same damn thing, you're stuck. Just because you did it a certain way yesterday, there's no reason to do it that way today. You wake up in the morning, you're failing. So you blame the president, you blame Congress, you blame Greece, blame the euro. I mean, construction in the street, it's the mayor, it's the... And you wake up in the morning and you look in the mirror and you're not failing because it's the other guy's fault, or it's the economy's fault. But if you looked in the mirror and said, I'm failing because of me, you wouldn't like it, and you change that. And I believe the common denominator of failure in any business is excuses. Why are you failing? You never say because of me. Oh, it's the competition. It's the economy. It's the president. It's Congress. If you wake up tomorrow morning and blame your failure on someone or something else, you have no reason to change, do you? It's that son of a fault. Son of a gun! I did everything I could. But if you woke up in the morning and looked in the mirror and said, I am failing because of me, the decisions that I make, the energy I put in, I'm not passing the blame. If you look in the mirror tomorrow and say that, you will change. Because nobody likes thinking of themselves as a failure. How often does that happen to us in our day-to-day lives? Family, the biggest excuse of all. Time. Every one of those excuses was bullshit, wasn't it? Think about it. Every single one. At the end of the day, winners win. But as long as you don't put it on you, you have no motivation to change it. So in short, if you own your failure, you'll own your success. If you don't own your failure, you'll never dig out. And I find that in any business. Always the common denominator of failure, personally, is excuses. You don't want to be a failure, do you?
If I could drop my mic, I would, but I have to take the cord out of my shirt and pull it off the back, so I don't think it would have the exact same effect. But I've probably watched that video 20 times in practicing for this, and it gets me fired up every single time I watch it. So what are 3 attributes that you have to win every day? The first is drive. The second is discipline. And the third is accountability. And over the next 3 slides, we're going to look at each one of these in depth. And I'm going to introduce 3 concepts that support each one of these attributes. And we're going to talk a little bit about them. And then for each concept, I'm going to leave you with a book and an author that has gone much deeper than I ever could up here. So the first one to look at is drive. Drive is what gets you up at 4:30 in the morning to achieve whatever mission you're trying to achieve. Drive is what keeps you up through the night to care for that sick child because you want to be a great parent. Drive is what gets you in the gym every day when you're sore and tired, but you have a health goal that you want to achieve. So what's our first concept? And this one is the most important thing that I will talk about today, and that is purpose. If you do not have purpose, and you do not understand your why, you will not achieve something hard. It is not possible. It is for a little bit. I'll talk a lot about consistency over the next 10 minutes or so. But drive is what gets you out of bed at 100 miles an hour. You got to understand that why. It doesn't matter what it is, but you got to find it. And it can't be money. Money will not get it done because eventually you're going to have enough, right? You might have a nicer watch, a little snazzier car, maybe an extra day on that vacation, but it's not going to keep you going day after day. And that why, it has to be you. It has to be authentic. Because if it's not, and it's not your purpose and it's not your values, and you saw it on YouTube, LinkedIn, whatever, you're like, oh, that's cool, but it's not me. It will get fuzzy, and it'll get fuzzy really quick. And the book I recommend here is Start With Why by Simon Sinek. And I'm going to pause a little bit after that so people can write notes, take pictures. The second concept here is process. As I mentioned, consistency is key. Motivation wanes. Some days we wake up, man, we're going to get after the world. Some days you don't wake up. You just lay in bed and you're like, screw it. Snooze, 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 snooze. Why do they do 9 minutes? Like, who came up with that? Like, why not 8? Is 11 too much? Like, I don't know, but consistency is there. But consistency isn't enough because process is repeatable. Process allows you to get better at everything that you're doing. But it takes time. You know those overnight successes you've seen? Most of the time, they're years. How many years did Michelangelo apprentice before he painted the Sistine Chapel? Now, that wasn't overnight. It took him a long time. That's back in the day, and they'd be in paint sprayers and all that other stuff now. It'd be a lot faster. But it takes time, and you got to love the process. Why? Because you do not control the results. The enemy always gets a vote, and that is whatever, bank, environment, other buyers, family, whatever, and they never vote with you. So you got to love the process. Don't focus on the results. The book here is Chop Wood, Carry Water by Joshua Medcalf. The last concept here for drive is grit. How many of us know somebody that was truly talented that amounted to nothing? Show of hands. Talent isn't enough. Most of them fizzled out because they relied too much on talent. In the Army, we got a saying, time, place, and uniform. A bunch of Army buddies in the room actually right now. They're all like laughing. They're like, ha ha ha. They said that to us in basic. But if you show up at the right time, at the right place, and at the right uniform, or in the right uniform, you're 90% out there. Effort matters. And we're going to get knocked down. You're going to have a fight with your wife. Your child is going to get in trouble with school. Your business will eventually stumble. But you got to have the resiliency to get back up when you're punched in the face. And grit, it's not all or nothing. It's not like I have it or I don't. You can build it. Type 2 fun, right? The type of fun that you volunteer for, that right in the middle of it, you're like, this is dumb. Why did I do this? Right? Mile 20, I've heard, never going to do that kind of fun, but I've heard mile 20 sucks, right? First 19, not so bad. The next 6, not so bad, but mile 20 sucks. But mile 26.3, I know how long a marathon is, so I'm saying that on purpose, is an amazing place to be, right? And that's that 1/10 of a mile where you've walked from the finish line over to the hydration stand and you're looking back at what you did. You can build grit. Book here, Angela Duckworth and Grit. Haha, my favorite one. Discipline. Folks in the room are like, oh man, I'm done. I'm not disciplined. That's the wrong mental attitude. You are choosing to not be disciplined. So what you need to say to yourself right now, when I put this up here, that first thought that came through your head was, I'm not disciplined. You need to change that narrative. You need to say to yourself, I am choosing to not be disciplined. It doesn't have to be all or nothing, right? You can be 80% disciplined in what you do and still achieve your objective. So for me, everyone that knows me, my favorite food, somebody yell it out. Queso, right? Like, you know Scrooge McDuck when he's swimming in those gold coins? I'm going to be swimming in a vat of queso when I make it, right? But 6 days a week, I'm pretty diligent with my food. Tonight, I'm having queso. Already texted my wife, get the Mexican on order. Because I've been pretty disciplined through the conference, right? So it's not all or nothing. And if you're still arguing with me in your head, I'm not self-disciplined. Okay, it's BS, but fine. Get an accountability partner. Get somebody to help you put that scaffolding on. Maybe that's a spouse. Maybe that's a business partner. Maybe that's a good buddy, whoever it is. The first concept here is freedom. Jocko Willink, discipline equals freedom. Might be getting argued with. Well, no, discipline is really restrictive. Okay, let's look at some examples. Let's look at what it means to be disciplined in finance and health, finance, and relationships. And what freedom does that come with? So discipline in health. Maybe that means you have 1 day a week where you eat whatever you want, but the other 6 you eat pretty good. Maybe that means you get into the gym 3 days per week. Doesn't take a lot. Maybe 3 days per week for 1 hour. Maybe you go to bed on time so you get good sleep. Okay, so what freedom does that get me? Maybe that allows you to chase your children around the playground because you're in shape. Maybe that gives you the mental clarity to make really hard decisions in your business. There's freedoms there. Oh. Discipline in finance. What does that look like? Maybe that means you make your coffee at home 2 days per week instead of going to Starbucks. Maybe that's bringing your lunch 2 days a week from home instead. Maybe that means you pack your protein bars, true story, instead of buying them on the road. Okay, what does that give me the freedom to do? Maybe that gives you the freedom to quit your job and start your business. Maybe that gives you the freedom to invest a little bit more in your child's education to put them through school. Maybe that gives you the ability to invest in a local charity that you really support. Freedom. And last, freedom in relationships. Well, what does that mean? Okay, well, if I'm disciplined in my relationships, maybe I put my phone away at 7 p.m. Maybe at family gatherings, I'm not looking at my computer or I'm not on the phone. Maybe, even though I don't agree with a spouse, I still support them in what they want to do. That's discipline. What freedom does that give you? If you have those good relationships, you have an instant support network. So it gives you the freedom to try to achieve something big because you have that support network. And as you saw here, shouldn't be a surprise, right? Discipline Equals Freedom by Jocko Willink. It's a field manual. It's actually really good. It's written by a Navy SEAL, like knuckle draggers. There's like 6 words per page, size 48 fonts, super good reads, 360 pages, you read it in 10 minutes. Every day. So in the book I'm going to put up here in a minute, the author talks about the 20-mile march. Well, what's he talking about there? In the example, it's you're going to walk from California to LA. That might actually be an option now, given Southwest's like flight cancellations. It may not be a bad option given now, probably equal. But you got 2 people. One builds a plan. I'm going to go 20 miles a day. I don't care how I'm feeling. I'm going to stop. And I'm going to rest. I'm going to recover. I'm going to refit. The other one, big meathead, like I'm going after day 1. And goes 65 miles. But Mr. Meathead gets some blisters and pulls and twists his ankle. The first person just does the 20 miles. And they do it day in and day out, day in and day out. Well, Mr. Meathead has to chill out for 4 days. So at the end of day 5, he's gone 65 miles. But the person that was disciplined and stopped at 20 miles is actually at 100 miles. It takes discipline to slow down when there's so many opportunities out there for you. Don't let success kill you. Be disciplined. Great by choice, Jim Collins. There's a gentleman here in the front row. Whenever I see his phone go up, I pause. So I appreciate it. Thank you for being my cue. Last one here is neutral. It's pretty negative out there right now, right? Ukraine, China, COVID, inflation, world's going to hell in a handbasket, right? So everybody knows, like, being negative, that's bad. Like, we don't want to get ourselves in a negative state of mind. Most folks don't think that being overly positive can be just as bad. Well, how can that be? Well, if you're overly positive and you're up here all the time and stuff doesn't happen, you got to come down here. And that sucks. But being neutral, doesn't matter what is good, doesn't matter what's bad. It just is. That's where you need to be. Because yesterday, nothing you can do about that. Get past it. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what happened yesterday. Doesn't matter what happened 1 hour ago. There's nothing I can do about it. In the future, it's unwritten. You have a marginal impact on the future. But where you have complete and absolute impact is right now in this moment. So stay neutral. It Takes What It Takes by Trevor Mawad. Last attribute, accountability. As John Taffer said, win or lose, it's on you. And none of us wants to admit that those fights with our spouse, it's because I'm being a shithead. My child's getting in trouble in school because I'm not doing what I need to do as a parent. My business isn't hitting its goals. I'm not being the leader I need to be. The mirror is a son of a bitch, but it keeps you accountable. And to do it, you got to own it. If you're failing, it's on you. If you're succeeding, it's on you. You've got to own it. And to own it, you've got to ask yourself. This is a question we ask at Spartan all the time. You want to be rich or you want to be right? Got to choose sometimes. Me? I'd rather be rich. I'd rather be rich in love. I'd rather be rich in relationships, in finances, in health, which means a lot more than I'd like to admit. I got to be wrong. I can't be right. But I'd rather be rich. And in the book, The author talks about there are no bad teams, only bad leaders. Well, some of you might be thinking like, okay, well, I don't have very good team members. Okay, well, fire them and put the right people on the bus. And if you don't do that, very few people fire themselves. They don't come in and be like, hey, boss, I suck, and I'm firing myself. You have to do it, and it sucks, but you got to own it. Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink and Leif Babin. So entrepreneurs are like squirrels on meth, chasing after the next shiny nut, and they're like in their focus, right? But you can't do that. If you're going to achieve big things, you have to focus. You have to write your plan. Most people write a plan, right? But a lot of people don't do it because they get distracted. They come to a conference like this and they're like, oh, I'm going to do multifamily senior housing, mobile home parks, and I'm going to raise money and do that. They come out of here with like 27 things written down. The true power would be to come out of here with one thing that you're going to write down. Just one. Because if you focus on that one thing, no matter what it is, you will achieve it. But you need to focus. The last thing I'll leave you with. For those of you that think you can multitask, I mean, a little secret. You can't. No one can. Basically, what you're doing is you're choosing to be really good at something, to be mediocre at a bunch of stuff that you're executing. So focus. That's the name of the book by Dan Goleman. And the last attribute here is know. What do you want to know? You got to know yourself. I just talked to somebody last night. They're getting ready to kind of build out a team. It's a partnership group that's getting ready to build out a team. Like, hey, have you guys ever taken any personality assessments? The answer was generally no. So we got to go take a bunch of them. Because you got to know what you're good at and what you suck at. Because trust me, you suck at stuff. And then what you need to do is you need to truly understand who you are and what you're good at. And what you're not good at, you go find partners, like Joe talked about in his, to fill those gaps so that you have this whole self that you can go and get after whatever you're trying to get after with. And mindset matters, so know your mindset. So the Olympics just ended, right? And thank God, because they sucked. It's bad, right? I said, like, China missed a huge opportunity, right? They could have taken the ski jump and put it behind the nuclear reactor, and folks could have got extra points for landing in it. I mean, they missed a huge opportunity. CBS had the worst ratings ever. They would have had the best ratings ever. Like 7 billion people would have watched that instead of like 6. So who is the most unhappy person at the Olympics? It's the silver medalist. Why? Because they're coming after it with if only. They're standing up there, man, if only I'd have passed the puck this, or I'd have kept an edge, or whatever. Who is the happiest person? Why? Because, holy shit, I can't believe I'm up here. At least I got a medal. Right? So when you think about it, be careful with the if-onlys. A lot of folks here are doing really well, and a lot of folks are just getting started. Don't walk out of here with hearing success from other people and think, man, if only I'd have started in 2016. I will say, if only I'd bought storage in 2016, we'd probably have a plane, but whatever. But at least you're here. At least you're getting started. And the last thing, beware of procrastination. Procrastination is generally because of not having a clear vision of what you need to do, right? Most people don't procrastinate on that college paper because, like, they want to. They just don't know what they're going to do, and then they get to the deadline and they have to write it all in one night, and it sucks. So the people at Best Ever, we execute. We get after it. But just know not everything's going to go perfect. Surrounded by Setbacks by Thomas Erickson. All right. How my team won. So I'm up here, Jack John about winning. Well, what gives me the credibility to be up here? Nothing. My team does. So let's look at zero. Where is zero in our team's life? Zero is 2017. In 2017, we had 0 employees outside of our ownership group. We had 0 self-storages. That's what we do at Spartan. And we had raised 0 millions. We'd raised a couple $100,000 in 2017. 40, what's that represent? 40 months later to today, what have we done? So in 40 months, we've grown our team to about 85-ish, somewhere in there. We've raised $165 million in equity, $120 million of it in 2021. We have 56 storages. 41 of them were purchased in 2021. And we now have $500 million of assets under management. Now, some of you multifamilies or folks in the room are snickering. They're like, oh, that's 5 assets. Yeah, I get it. But in storage, it's not. It puts us in the top 30 operators of all storage folks. So how did we get there? We established our purpose, our why, to improve lives through real estate. We built processes, and we stuck with it even when we got kicked in the teeth. Through discipline, we had the freedom to get after it every single day. And we stayed neutral. We didn't let setbacks bring us down. We also, much to the chagrin of our team, didn't let overwhelming success get to our head. We just kept after it. It didn't matter because we stayed neutral. We were accountable for our successes and our failures. We wrote a strategic plan, and then guess what? Super secret thing. Everybody get out a pen. We did it. That's it. And we knew ourselves. We knew where we were strong because we took a bunch of personality tests and we believed them. We didn't argue with the tests. We believed them. And then we found folks through our whole team and built out what is now Spartan Investment Group. So best ever. I leave you with this. How will you win going forward? And with that, thank you very much. That's all I have.